Folks at the Energy and Environmental Research Center call him the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships. We call him One Smart Dude. John Harju back with us on the program we call Energy Matters from the campus of the University of North Dakota, the ERC up there. John, how are you?
I'm great. Good to be with you, Scott.
Would you put into sort of layman's terms for me the significance of North Dakota being granted primacy by the EPA for regulation on these Class 6 wells?
Sure. Well, there's still a little bit of process left. I think it's one of these situations where we can probably see the light at the end of what's been a very, very long tunnel. But in essence, the federal government has put out notice of their intent to grant North Dakota this primacy. There's a public comment period that we're in at this time, and depending on the nature of any submitted comments, then it's likely the back end of this we'll see North Dakota as having been granted this primacy. I think your question is really more, okay, well, why should it care? Why should anybody care? The Class 6 rules were something that came into play after the state of North Dakota had previously put forward comprehensive rules that would deal with the underground storage of carbon dioxide. As you're aware, Scott, carbon dioxide is something that each of us exhale when we breathe, but it's also a very significant component of emissions from industrial and power generation. And so the notion has been, well, could we capture this, put it to use in enhanced oil recovery projects? And, we've been very busy there. But also the notion of, well, could we put this into permanent geologic storage? So again, because of the importance of the energy industry to the state of North Dakota, the state had way back in 2008, 9, 10 put together these very comprehensive rules to govern this. And, about 6-8 months after finalizing these rules, which are the first of a kind in the nation, then the EPA decided, hey, we should have federal rules for this. And by the way, we're in charge, unless maybe you jump through a bunch of hoops and seek primacy. So then you get a couple of years where the state, worked on jumping through those various hoops, ultimately putting in an application way back in 2013, and then it's finally now in 2017 that the federal government has announced their intent to, to give North Dakota this primacy. Really, what that primacy is the state to administer any program that would deal with the subsurface storage of carbon dioxide.
And that's what a Class 6 well can accommodate?
Yes, that's what a Class 6 well could accommodate. It's a special class exclusively for that type of geologic storage. One of the concerns that industry has had with this is, North Dakota already has the Class 2 program. The Class 2 program is that which is exclusively for oil and gas operations. So if we wanted to run a carbon dioxide enhanced oil recovery project, it would be under the Class 2 program. And the state has had that primacy for decades. The challenge with this Class 6 program that the EPA put forward is there is a notion that they could step into an existing Class 2 program with the Class 6 program if any of a long list of potential circumstances existed, the last of which was if the administrator decides it's appropriate. So if you think about that, essentially what that is a means of the federal government stepping into an ongoing commercial operation in the state, effectively for no reason other than the administration's appointee felt that it was appropriate for them to step in and usurp the state's authority, which, again, it's not really a high-quality business relationship that I think would be consistent with the desires the state has demonstrated over time.
So if we go back to the state running the show on this rather than the feds, Take me ahead 5 and 10 years from now of what the potential could be for that, because obviously this ability to do this kind of storage of CO2 in North Dakota in these wells could solve a significant problem from all of the coal industry is facing this war on coal, obviously, and so many different areas because of the extreme environmental push, right, on the global warming thing. So what is the ultimate outcome? What does the Christmas morning look like with this program working fully implemented?
Yeah, so the way I see this, Scott, is that this allows North Dakota to develop North Dakota-specific solutions to challenges that are presented to us in the state. The state of North Dakota has perhaps the best geologic setting in the world, or amongst the top few places in the world that you can actually do this safely and in an economically viable way. So this is really very much a competitive advantage to North Dakota versus perhaps Florida or the Carolinas or other places. We have perfect geology for this. We also have all of these bountiful opportunities to utilize CO2 to further our energy industries, and namely the enhanced recovery options. So, being able to have the regulation of those industries securely in the state's hands, to me, is a far superior situation than someone in Washington or somewhere else in the federal bureaucracy. Bismarck is a real good place, I think, for the regulatory authority for the subsurface estate of our region to be handled.
Fascinating. Well, that's going to be a fun one to watch for sure. And once again, North Dakota in a very unique position. So glad those shackles are off from a regulatory standpoint, and anxious to see how it gets implemented here. Thanks so much for the insight and analysis as always, John.
You're welcome. Always good to talk with you, Scott.
You too. Take care. John Harju from the University of North Dakota's Energy and Environmental Research Center.